Okay, I want to resume the previous video. Got the AOL back. It's been behaving a little bit unpredictably recently because I've missed a couple of important communications too. But let me just go over a few of the remaining points about my own personal agency as I'm getting older. There are other things that can affect my right to drive alone. For example, I could lose that or drive at night, as I get older or something because of medical things, or any number of things, or even the whole idea of climate change could discourage people from driving alone or renting cars alone or driving long distance alone, which is something I've typically wanted to do. And also my own independence as an older, as a senior, because if something were to happen to me and others don't know what I'm doing, it could be very disruptive to them. There could be a lot of pressure put on me to make myself more transparent than I am. That could affect my activity. And again, I guess these are partly justification because of the climate change and the effect on others, partly operational concerns. There's also, I just wanted to go back and mention, I talked about Lawrence versus Texas. I'm jumping ahead 12 years. We got Obergefell and we got the Supreme Court to recognize gay marriage in 2015, which seemed like a great victory. It's interesting that we accused the left of changing the meaning of words. And the marriage no longer requires you to follow a model that's based on reproduction, biological reproduction. But a lot of discussion about gender identity these days has to do with the fact that for some people, being judged on their ability to do that works very seriously to their disadvantage, as it does to mine. It certainly does. But you could ask, is there a fundamental right to have a personal personality characteristic of, say, being the polarities with Rosenfels or the performativities with Judith Butler made into an identity that has legal protection and maybe even pronouns and so forth? Is that a fundamental right? That would be a justification question. Again, the use of words, it can impact other people, particularly women, biological women in their safe spaces, which is in a way sort of corresponds to the issues with the military and college dorms I've talked about in the past. So to me, that possibility today is very interesting. So it's not it may have been made a right, but it's not necessarily guaranteed a fundamental right. I don't think that it would be. I just wanted to also just go back and recap a couple of things. I talked about, so there were several points about my own speech. First of all, when I wrote a book, and actually wrote it in '97, the issue of just simply the effect on my job. If you speak online as the internet came on, there's a possibility that if others can find you and you have people reporting to you in the workplace, or you make decisions about other people, like whether underwriting them or something, that could raise issues if your opinions about things are made visible as an individual. But yet, and then the question about citizen journalism, which we all think is a good thing for people to record things that they see. I mean, look at what happened even in the George Floyd case. A teenager, I think, recorded the incident. It can be a very good thing when it's incidental. When it's practiced all the time, as I've done it, and it's made free, there's a question as to, could it interfere with other people's jobs? I think I mentioned that. Could it attract hostility to marginalized groups, and that might inspire the left to make up more marginalized groups or make them seem bigger? We talked about that. We talked about normativity in a previous video, remember, but that's a concern. Could my speech support itself? Could I attract, subscribers and take care of them as customers the way many authors do? And, or, with, some sort of Patreon, or a Substack or something like that. Could I do that? That is a good question. And the problem that I wrote a book, there's been an issue, there's been an effort in the last year, a little more than a year, to get to sell more of my original books, particularly the first two. And there's a certain way about the way they were identified and published by the publisher, that they have to be accounted for a certain way, and it kind of makes it awkward in discussing some things, because it's really all three books together that you can put together and come up with more ideas, and yet that's not the way they're sold. And so that's been an issue, and I'll talk about that more later, but I just wanted to mention that the desire to be commercially viable can interfere with how effective you can really be as a speaker and in influencing opinion. I think I was effective on the military ban. I think I did have an impact, but giving away a lot of my stuff free and talking about a lot of other issues that are connected to the ban, like security clearances and other kinds of jobs, seemed to have an effect on the debate, and took it out of the evidence of just simply being a minority group, and gave it a more conservative kind of argument to justify lifting it. I think I did affect it. There is the issue of having, if you speak publicly about things and issue your opinion, there's the issue of having your skin in the game. It's better if you have dependents and have a real stake, then people know who you are. You have a real stake, and you're not just affecting other people's lives because you want to have the ego recognition of being the person who said, "I told you so." There's that kind of thinking. So these are big concerns I have with the way my speech continues, and we'll talk about that more later. But I just wanted to make that clear. And I do thank you for listening again.